We're going to hear from representatives from the Texas Military Department, the Defense Innovation Unit, and private construction technology startup Icon on how 3D printing can help improve speed, energy efficiency, and affordability concerns, and introduce innovation solutions to our military community. So joining us in person here today in Austin, Texas, our panelists will include Evan Loomis, who is the co-founder of Icon. We have Michael Cornicis, the Texas Military Department Command Senior Enlisted Leader. Brian Stevens, the Director, Plans, Programs, and Innovation at TMD Construction Facilities Maintenance Office. And finally, Lieutenant Colonel Alex Goldberg, the Southwest Region Engagement Lead at DIU. We're going to head out to the live feed here on the 8th floor at Capitol Factory and let them take it away.
Hey, Bobby, thanks for the introduction, and super fortunate to have the panel that we have right now talking about 3D printing of buildings. That's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing a couple years ago, but over the last few months, a lot of momentum has happened in this space. And I want to talk a little bit about why do we even care about 3D printed buildings or some of this technology. And it revolves around what we call in the DoD and in the military, contested logistics. This is this notion and this concept that whether it's the winter apocalypse that we just experienced here in Texas or the challenges that we face overseas, we won't be able to get a gallon of gasoline downrange. Our communication will be contested and we won't have free reign. Energy will be a challenge. And even doing construction downrange is going to be very challenging. And so we started with this problem set at DIU. We're all about taking commercial technology and accelerating the adoption within the DoD, right? We as a nation need to move faster to help solve the challenges that we have as a country. And so I have a great panel with me today that I'll quickly introduce. Evan Loomis, who is the co-founder of Icon, an entrepreneur's entrepreneur, who has been in the ecosystem for quite some time. And we'll hear about his story of why he created this company and what his experience has been with the DoD. And how we can even improve and help inspire, engage, and support you in your journey in wanting to work with the DoD. We also have Chief Michael Cornicis, true warfighter, been in the DoD for a long time, a mentor and a friend. He is the Senior Enlisted Leader for the entire Texas Military Department under Major General Tracy Norris. And he has really changed the culture within the Texas Guard and around Guard Nation and how we can interact with the community. And super excited that he's here with us today. And then we have Mr. Brian Stevens, who is the true G.I. Joe. Just retired as a lieutenant colonel, worked in the commercial sector, has come back and works in our construction facilities management office within the Texas Military Department, working a lot of the energy projects, microgrids. How do we have energy and water resiliency so that we can best respond in times of disaster? And so a little bit, I just want to open up to Evan first of help us understand a little bit about Icon. And where did you get this idea to start 3D printed buildings? What was the problem that you guys were trying to solve?
That's great. Thanks, Storky. And thanks for wearing California casual and telling us to dress business casual. You're making us look good. We started Icon with the goal of eradicating the housing crisis that we have in America and the world. There is no shortage of human suffering that's associated with people that are under-sheltered. The average American cannot afford a home, and 1 billion people around the world don't have shelter. And so it makes our democracy worse when we can't afford a house and the world is more unstable. And so we started this business with an incredibly high ideal of like solving this challenge. And we started with robotics and automation because we believe that through robotics and automation, we're actually going to like take a huge dent out of this issue of affordability. And so in 2018, we 3D printed the first house in America. It was incredible. It was in East Austin. I did it in my buddy Taylor's backyard. South by Southwest was coming up, which is a big event in Austin. And I called up Taylor and I said, "Hey man, I need your backyard, please." He was like, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do, dude?" And I was like, "I'd like to 3D print a house." And he said, "No." And I asked him politely how much his mortgage was. that I would cover his mortgage, and he said, hell no. And then eventually I said, look, man, we've got an incredible technology. We just need to print this house somewhere. If I'm successful, you can have the house for free. And so we did it, and it's a very famous house now, but it's in Taylor's backyard. And it was a humble beginning for us. And if you're trying to imagine what we're talking about, we use concrete. It's one of the most plentiful and abundant and inexpensive materials that humans have invented for the last 2,000 years. And we extrude concrete layer by layer, almost like a hot glue gun. And so inch by inch, we built the house. We did it in incredible speed, incredible time. And a few things kind of surprised us along the way. One, a bunch of neighbors pulled out 6 packs of beer, cigarettes, and we're just enjoying the show, which is, amusing at best. But two, once we posted a video online of what we'd actually done, millions of video views had been seen. And we started getting phone calls from various heads of state from around the world and people in the government. And so we ended up raising a round of capital, which was amazing. It's called a seed round, to kind of accelerate the good work that we had already done, to take it from a little bit of a prototype and begin to scale up the company. And 2 things happened after that. Number one, the Chinese showed up, and Stoichi showed up, this guy. And we had a moment where we were going to take like the red pill or the blue pill. And fortunately, no pun intended on that one. Fortunately for us, we had been kind of forewarned that we should not take Chinese capital at this stage of our business. And Stoichi showed up and said, hey, have you ever considered partnering with the Defense Department to accelerate your technology, telecommunications, human flight? A number of these critical technologies that the U.S. has led the way on have been developed in partnership with the DoD. And we said, we're all ears. And a lot of our investors said, don't. Do not partner with the DoD. They're slow. They can't make decisions. This is going to hurt your valuation as a little bitty company. And thank God we didn't, because we've had a really incredible relationship, not just with the DoD, but specifically, within the DoD, Defense Innovation Unit, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and now hopefully the Army as well. So it's been a really incredible ride.
Yeah, look, the innovation, as we're here in the DoDX community, innovation is not for the faint of heart. The bureaucracy is still strong. We are trying to make it easier, but it is still not easy for small startups like this to be successful in transitioning and scaling across the DoD. And a part of it is from DIU as the Southwest Region Engagement Lead, where we work with our defense customers to understand the problem statements, and then look and build those relationships with all the big prime VCs, the Sequoias, the Andreessen Horowitz, the 8 VCs of the world, to be able to find the latest and greatest technology on the commercial side to be able to adopt it. And so we always start with the defense problem set. So I want to reach out to Mike here in regards to what is the problem strategically around contested logistics? Why are we opening up the Texas Guard to work with these companies? Why does this matter? Why do we care?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, you think about it, and to put it in the civilian terms, our logistical chain within the United States is pretty in place, intact. Now, we do have some struggles now because of COVID, not having workers there, not having the warehouse availability. So multiply that by 10 and put that across the world. That's what we have to deal with day to day. And in a contested environment, so that we don't have the ease of movement that we normally are accustomed to now, if we end up having a large scale incident that, some of our countries that Evan even mentioned, that we become contested with them, we're not going to have the ease to be able to just ship concrete. We're not going to have the ease to be able to ship the equipment, the personnel, the fuel, things that you mentioned earlier. So what this does for us with this technology, and even others that we're working with, gives us the ability to use that material that's indigenous to that area. We don't have to worry about the supply chain as much, as long as we have the pieces that we need to create this structure and be able to use the aggregate and some of the equipment that's there. We'll still make it happen. And it doesn't matter about the fuel source even. Fuel source within those areas, we all have some form of petro that we can use, and we adapt and make that happen as well. So for us, for the military side, it is very instrumental in making sure that we have that capability that we can use wherever we go, whenever we need to, instead of having to depend on that supply chain that may be broken at any point in that whole conflict.
No, absolutely. And, Brian, if you could talk a little bit about, you're very familiar with construction. Most people don't know the bureaucratic process of what a normal construction. End of life of a building, we have a new requirement to construct anything, right? A barrack. Walk us through the process currently of what that looks like. How long does it take, cost-wise, just big picture here.
Absolutely. So, and what we discovered as on part of this project, we normally program, 3 to 7, sometimes 9 years out in the military construction community. A full MilCon, military construction project, typically is a 7 to 10 year lead time. A minor MilCon, which is, something to build a small barrack like we did, it would be 3 to 4 years. We would program that. We're actually, comparing a baseline small MilCon barrack project to this, and that one will have troops in 3 to 4 years versus a project like this where we're able to go from programming to actually occupying it in about a year. So the speed at which we can execute is significantly faster. I mean, there's some advantages to the accelerated contracting environment that we're working in, so we've kind of backed that out, but it's still tremendously faster than a typical military construction contract or project that we would.
And give me an idea, if it's 3 to 4 years, what is a recent project that you have done with Icon and ballpark, time-wise, at least just on that, how has that process been, more efficient or faster?
Absolutely. So, the catalyst for us needing a barrack, a military barrack, we have a massive shortage of transient training barracks. That's the barracks that we put soldiers and airmen in to train and prepare for missions. We have a huge shortage. Most of them are old. They're very inefficient. In terms of meeting our energy efficiency and resiliency, we need them to be super efficient, cheap, and fast, right? Impossible problem to solve in the DoD military construction environment. Luckily, we stumbled across Icon as part of this project here in Austin. We have a facility not too far from Austin, Camp Swift, Texas, and we were able to work with them to design and construct a transient training barracks in about 12 months, which in military construction terms is light years faster than our normal methodology. And that was given we were dealing with a global pandemic and the worst winter storm in Texas history that we'd ever seen. So 12 months was probably really, if we had to do that without a global pandemic and a winter storm, would have probably been like 8 or 9 months. So 8 or 9 months to deliver this barrack compared to 3 or 4 years would be the normal cycle. Still is the normal cycle that we would have to go
And giving some context, the backlog of construction within the DoD is over $100 billion. $100 billion with a B. And in the Army, it's about 60 billion. The Air Force, it's about 30 billion, on and on and on. And we only get maybe 10% of that from Congress to be able to get after it. And so the first customer that actually came to DIU was the Marines. They wanted to actually build hardened shelters for their vehicles and HIMARS, which are missile silos, missile facilities, mobile missile launchers downrange. And the challenge is because of these contested logistics, we can't get our material out there. What can be indigenous? Often in the DoD, we go, we want a faster horse. And that's pretty much how innovation works. You know what you know. And so from a DIU perspective, we're the joint entity at the Office of Secretary of Defense to take some of those wins and those lessons from the Marines and be able to scale that through Air Force IMSC and AFCEC, the Air Force Civil Engineering Center, being able to bring in the Texas Guard, right, that has a large footprint within the United States, to bring in NASA and Marshall Space Center and potentially 3D print on other planets. So if you could talk a little bit about, so where are you now, right? From 2.5 years ago as a small company, working with the small DIU contracts, SBIR, small wins, then moving to strat fives and strategic phase twos and getting a little bit more money. Where are you fast forward 2.5 years later? What has been your experience with working with DIU, working with the military? And where is the company now from that small building in your friend's backyard to what kind of contracts and things should we be seeing from Icon here now?
That's great. Good question. Yeah, our values at Icon are courage, velocity, and magnitude, and we are trying to move as fast as we possibly can to solve these incredible challenges. And so, from that first house, that we were able to accomplish that. We raised a seed round. And then we cranked out a dozen more homes in a foreign country, down in Mexico, the first 3D printed community. We came back to America during the pandemic and did a dozen more structures that are all different shapes and sizes. These aren't tiny houses. These aren't just large 4,000 square foot barracks with the Texas Military Department. They're anything you want. It's a digital approach to construction. And if you've got an iPhone and you can click on what you'd like to 3D print, it is about that easy. We're trying to usher in a completely new paradigm of construction that's going to be faster, more resilient, more beautiful, more interesting, with all kinds of incredible benefits, not least of which for people that are in contested environments. We don't need to have those folks there. They don't need to be in harm's way as much with this incredibly powerful automation that we're dealing with. So much like a lot of companies, we started with private sector dollars, just from venture capital funds. And we had money from the DoD and NASA and other organizations like that, and we kind of grew together. So we started small, $50,000 SBIR. That turned into a $1.5 million SBIR. That turned into a $15 million StratFi, which is like a fun word for a big SBIR. And then, yeah, wasn't trying to be funny, but maybe I should do stand up. And then we partnered with DIU, and we were able to do a few million with Defense Innovation Unit in the Marine Corps. And so it's been an incredible partnership because we've really grown up with our government partners at the DoD and NASA, and they've been able to kind of move at the speed that we are, while knowing that we are really targeted towards this housing crisis. Like that is our mission as a company, and it's a twofer that we get to solve another huge issue, which is military construction. Like, we do not have enough resilient, beautiful, inexpensive places for our men and women to sleep at night. Just that is just a fact. And it is our tremendous honor to partner with the DoD in this incredible mission. It is not a distraction. It's like incredibly aligned with where we want to go as a company.
And a part is, right, because we don't have enough money and resources to get after the entire backlog, we are trying to stretch, like the Army gets about $1.6 billion to solve $6 billion of requirements a year. That's not all the requirements. That's what is absolutely critical and immediate. And so looking at new novel technologies, right? In the DoD, when you go and you show them a tank, they will then go, then with what money am I going to feed my horses? I already have a particular infrastructure, budget lines, the POM process, right? How we allocate funds from Congress. This is a very complicated process, and it doesn't provide the flexibility that we need to move at the speed of business and to meet some of these challenges. And so, right, where most of the research and development dollars back in the 50s came from, right, the DARPAs and our service labs, now they're coming from companies like, Icon and from Evan, and the venture capital private equity community. And we're trying to find ways to motivate, inspire, and engage them. And this is an example of a success story in doing very much that. Mike, if you can help understand, just from the Texas Guard's perspective, the culture of being so open to providing access to this ecosystem, these companies, to our people, facilities, and equipment. Why is that important to you? Why is that important to the adjutant general? Why is that important to the governor? Why have we opened up, right, an innovation unit to be able to work with these companies?
Well, I tell you, from the adjutant general's perspective in mind, it's very important. First, I just want to say I'm glad to see we're all hand talkers, because I do a lot of that. So thank you. There
you go.
But to as an older person, I consider myself. I know there's people that are older than I am, but 33, almost 34 years in the military, going from where we were to where we are now, and really looking at things and getting involved in these systems, these ecosystems and partners, it just makes us look more like we understand where we're going, what we want to do. So whenever we get in a senior leader position, we aren't planning for today, we're planning for 20 years down the road. So getting involved with these companies, getting involved in these type of environments really helps us work towards that direction. So for us, it's important, because as we transition out as senior leaders to whatever's next, whether we move up to a national level from the Guard perspective, or we transition out to civilian life, this is where it's going to be important and impactful for us, because we have to leave a footprint and make sure we're planning for the future. So people like Brian, who comes back and works as a civilian and brings that knowledge with him. working together with people like Evan and other companies that are out there so that we can say this is important for not today, this is important for tomorrow. And this is where our soldiers, our airmen that are involved today in the Texas National Guard are looking at us and going, oh, wait a second, you care about everything, every aspect of our life. So the innovation talk that's going on, for me, like I was saying, as an older person, I love it. I think it's a great way for us to look. I think it's a great way for us to grow. And if we're not evolving as a military, if we're not evolving as a community, then we are going to be left behind. And the people that we are trying to serve and help, we're not going to be able to. So we've got to look forward. We've got to continue down the road. What's the future look like? How do we get there? So as I was saying, the Adjutant General and I, we talk about that and we think about that in the future. So the footprint that we have here in the Capitol Factory, so we have a Texas Military Department Innovation Cell, and they're here, and we have people that work out of there because we want to be part of the community. And it's not about us taking advantage just as a military entity. It's also helping those entities in the civilian sector partner with us and give them the opportunity to really test some of that, be part of the system with us, understand how we operate, and that we can work together, just like you've been doing really for us from the beginning with DIU now. How do we partner together and take advantage of each other? And I don't mean that in a negative connotation. I mean this in a positive way. How can we help you get what you need support with, and vice versa? What do you have that can help us, and that we can work together, we can test things for you, we can really get out there. And that's what we're about. And that's why we have this footprint here.
And that's very much what Secretary Hsu has said, right? As the Undersecretary for Research and Engineering, our private conversations that we've had with her, as well as the public, comments that she made this morning, this next phase of the DoDX ecosystem is really about collaboration. To move faster, right? Everyone has their silos of excellence, and we all have the best of intentions from all of the different MAGCOMs, PEOs, different services across the joint services. Everyone's trying to do the right thing and trying to leverage commercial technology. And we still need your help, right? It is still not easy, but you can't give up on us, right? Whether it in the country, right, or some of the challenges that we face. I just want to talk a little bit about, in our time remaining. One is some of the use cases that you foresee of this 3D printing technology. You guys 3D printed the largest building in North America, right? Senator Cornyn, right, just did the ribbon cutting out here just last month. Help articulate, where do you see this going out in the future? I mean, this is just the very beginning of digitizing and automating, construction. Where can you see, what challenges do you think this can solve in the future?
Well, I think, first of all, it's definitely additive manufacturing, construction scale 3D printing is going to be disruptive to the current model of construction, without a doubt. I was a little bit skeptical at the beginning. I'm all in. This will disrupt the way that we construct structures in the future. I think specific applications for the military, installation related, obviously we can continue to solve our shortage of all types of facilities by using this remarkable technology to build faster, cheaper, more efficient buildings. But even more important, in an expeditionary model, we can build all of the things, as Evan hit on, that we need from materials that are ubiquitous and they're stronger, they last longer, and they're cheaper, and we don't have to bring a lot of materials with us. And in a lot of ways, by using the innovation that ICON and others are developing, we can do this autonomously without soldiers or airmen to have to put at risk. You can deploy the machine to build the structure or the shelter, whether it's a T-barrier or a HIMARS shelter or whatever we need to build. We can build that in the future, I think, in the near future, without exposing our service members to risk, and then it'll be there when they need it, and we can build it as fast as we need to. So
I appreciate it. And Evan, in closing this up here, two-pronged question. One is, what advice do you have for other companies that are interested in working in this DoD space? You've been doing this for a couple of years, a number of the innovation organizations and different programs and grants. So part one is, what advice do you have for these companies? The second piece is, where do you see this technology going in the future, right? From just 3D printing walls to, where do you see this technology going here and elsewhere on other planets?
Thanks for the lead there. For startup founders and for other folks that are looking to partner with the DoD, for me, it was incredibly intimidating, because when you think of something, it's just like, DoD, it's hard to break that down to actually what it means. And so as fast as you can find what Brian mentioned earlier, like a Sherpa that can help you know what the acronyms actually mean, because most people don't know how to speak in front of the DoD. I remember meeting. This is kind of embarrassing, but I met General Brown, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and I called him Charles. And Stoicky was like, "Bro, stop it, you idiot!" You know, and like it's just stuff like that you just have to learn by doing it. And so for people that are looking to partner with the DoD, hang in there, get a Sherpa as fast as you can, and your technology may not be interesting, but you're never going to know unless you put your best foot forward and ask for feedback on your product. Two, where I think the future of construction on this planet and on the moon and then Mars is going to be automated and digital. It feels like incredibly clear that if we do not head in that direction, the future is going to be worse here in our country, and the future of the world is going to be worse. And so we are trying to usher in a completely new paradigm that's going to be better and faster and cheaper, and actually solve what felt like an unsolvable problem in our lifetime. So that's the mission that we're on. That's where I think we're going. And again, we feel incredibly proud to partner with both of you and also you at the DIU. So
and so this is an example of a company from their early startup phase to now a successful, growing, transitioning technology across the joint forces. And this is not easy. And the whole ecosystem had just begun. AFWERX was created just a few years ago, DIU just 5 years ago. But this is an example of starting with a government customer need that has transformative effect across not just the DoD, but also the civilian enterprise as well. And being able to find them pathways to help them navigate through the bureaucracy. If you go to www.diu.mil, this is where we host all our solicitations. And typically, they're only posted on there from anywhere between 4 to 14 days, and we get on contract between 60 to 90 days thereafter. I mean, our whole goal is to find companies like this, new novel solutions that we didn't know exist, to solve big challenges like the construction backlog, that we have. I appreciate the entire panel for being with me today, and Capital Factory for hosting. Bobby, back to you, and appreciate the support.